Hello, this is John Miller, the creator of this podcast. Now, the rest of Everest is probably the most in-depth look at just what it takes to climb the world's highest peak. But keep in mind that it is a series. And if you're checking out the podcast for the first time, do yourself a favor, go back to episode 0 and watch everything in order. That's really the right way to enjoy it. Thanks so much.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 82, The Rest of the Everest.
Hey! Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest video podcast. I'm John Miller, joined as always with Scott Jacobs out in California. How's it going, Scott?
It's going well, John.
This week, we are going to rejoin our little stay in Old Tingri, New Tingri. I gotta get that right. I hope last week's episode wasn't too boring. I get concerned sometimes. I have to strike a balance between how long each episodes are. I try to edit for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I don't want to make it too long because then it's such a large download, but sometimes there's not a whole lot that goes on in each episode, so I hope you guys are able to bear with it, because maybe not next week, but the week after that, we will get to base camp, I promise. So, well, let's head up. We're not at base camp yet, so let's get back on the road and let's head up to Shegar. So here we go. I just made a discovery. It's one of those cross-cultural things. It does not matter what country you live in. The women's rooms are always cleaner than the men's. Let me show you the men's real quick. Yeah, apparently people are kind of lacking aim. Yeah, that's nice. That guy went in the corner and just let it dribble down. That's nice. They also, as you can see, right on the walls, Dima. So as you can see, it's pretty rough in here. It smells delightful too, as I'm sure you can imagine. Now, keeping all of this in mind, men spend most of their lives aiming, or at least trying to aim. Let me show you the women's room. Not too bad. Respect for the walls. That gravel right there was simply disposed of down the toilet by two women who had a tray of it. So, other than that, it's kept pretty clean. There's even a little broomstick in the corner. So as you can see, no matter what country you're in, women are always going to have cleaner bathrooms. So men out there, think about that for a second. Men don't have to be as filthy as they are. Women, I guess, are just nicer to be around. It's true. That really was a nice bathroom. You could spend some quality time in that women's bathroom. It's so the case where, you don't look like you trust me. For the most part, I'd rather be out in the middle of a field. Oh, yeah. So much better. Here's, again, part of the trash control worker that we saw last episode. All right, so now I'm heading into the tea house. Or heading towards the tea house.
I remember this wonderful entryway up the stairs. And behind this thick city curtain. It would catch all the smoke from the yak dung stove, and you touched it and your hands just felt grimy and black.
You don't think, you go to Tibet and all you see is PBR bottles and cans and and boxes, but hey, past Blue Ribbon, it's everywhere.
I was anxious to try the Lhasa beer myself. Didn't partake up into and in base camp, but sure did afterwards.
What do you think about it?
Oh, I loved it.
It was very pale, very light.
It's very pale, very pale. I just like the fact that I'm drinking Lhasa beer.
Yeah, this is...
Try the onion rings.
That was very typical of what the tea houses were all like.
Kind of
We'll go
bizarre.
back in there later.
Oh, they're like onion cheese puff things.
Yep. They're pretty good.
Oh. They're kind of like sour cream and onion, but I guess they're just onion.
It's Tibetan junk food. Egg yolk, chocolate sandwich,
I think
biscuit.
it's Chinese junk food in Tibet.
I'm for sure it is. Egg yolk, chocolate sandwich, biscuit. It doesn't really sound good, does it?
Might be delicious.
We're gonna give it a shot. I just bought it from some 9-year-old in the store next door. Aha! They had giant Pepsis too. I was gonna get you. Cheers.
Tastes like chicken. Actually, that's pretty good.
I might get another box or two for the trip.
It's got kind of like an orange cream-ish flavor.
They have different colored bags. So maybe I'll go for green and yellow next.
This is thrilling dynamic footage.
Oh, they're signed by some celebrity.
It's like Newman's Own.
I need to get my thermometer out to see how cold it is.
Feels like about 40.
It's 40, yeah.
That's
I think
not-
it's just colder because,
You're up high.
yeah. Well, there's no break from it.
It's pretty warm in the tea house, though. I don't think anyone's smoking in there right now.
Oh, really? Maybe I'll go in there and read for a while.
In saying that there's no break from it, the rooms are not heated. And of course, they're cement block construction. So you're cold in your room, you're cold outside. The car is cold because it's cold outside. So I just remember not having much of a break from it. Being in the tea houses were very warm.
Yeah.
Very much. Very nice. But, we'd hang out in the tea houses in the evening, wander around town during the day.
What currency are we using today?
I got a real thrill out of this. That's my iPod. It's actually in a rubber case given to me by Podzinger. But I wasn't expecting it to work, actually. And I took it out and found that it was still working because the hard drive in it doesn't always work at altitude. And I was able to show these guys some of the podcast. Lobsang really enjoyed watching it. And it was really cool to be back in Tibet because of the podcast and be able to show Tibetans the podcast. It was really neat for me. I think that's an episode where we're trying to get in touch with Ben as he's up on the higher flanks of the mountain. I think me and Dawa, our cook, we're trying to get on the radio.
Toilet.
Sanjay.
Yeah, this tea house was really comfortable.
The rest of the Everest.
It's my email address, every show.
The rest.
It was run by 2 Tibetan women, or at least tended to by 2 Tibetan women. And they'd come around and fill your tea, hot water, tea leaves. Of course, the never empty cup. So you always had some hot water in front of you. But I noticed that a lot of the Tibetan men would show up, especially in the morning time, and they would have pots of tea waiting for them. I assumed it was the yak butter tea. And, I don't know, 15, 20 men came by in the morning, and each took, 2 thermoses with them. So I imagine this is where they got their breakfast.
It's like showing up to get coffee and bagels.
Exactly.
There's my good friend Richard Dugan from the Northern Ireland team. Actually, I'm remembering now that I didn't sync my iPod properly, and I only had 2 episodes of the podcast on it. It's really too bad.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that poor cat. So this is a little bit later in the day. That's why it's all the video quality isn't as good, because it's really dark in there. I had to lighten it up. But this cat hung out, was a pet, and it was the most pitiful cat we've ever seen.
Hairless in places, mangy, just scabby. It's sad.
I love cats and I love dogs, but I really did not want to touch this cat.
I did keep feeding it some of my noodles.
It's just the most pitiful. Feed me. I think they actually fed the cat sampa.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Which sampa is ground roasted barley with some yak butter tea mixed into it and some salt, and it's kind of like grape nuts for Tibetans. It's something that so many people eat. It's just part of their everyday life. But that's what the cat probably primarily subsisted on. As I've been calling Lobsang to transfer him money from all the donations we've been collecting, he makes a point of telling me when he's eating sampa. I'm eating sampa right now, John, because he knows I don't care for it. So he's kind of making fun of me. So this is the big deal. This is the huge, big thing in Tibet that I noticed different from 2003 were the cell phones. Everyone has cell phones now. And they actually have pretty good reception, too. And people were constantly texting each other. It was really, really crazy. So this is the next morning as we're getting ready to head up towards Everest. I can't remember how early we left, but this was going to be a long day of driving.
It was a nice alpine start. I remember that. We got up fairly early and took off. I remember walking into the tea house and waking some of the men up, just inadvertently. I'm noisy.
Yeah, because they sleep on the benches and stuff in there. What we saw there were they looked like 2 satellite dishes. One was a satellite dish, but the other one was just a parabolic mirror, and you'd put a teapot in the middle there, and the mirrors would concentrate solar energy onto that teapot, and it would keep your tea warm. Just a solar heater. Worked really well. And you see them all over the place in Tibet. And usually they have a pot of tea with
butter tea.
Nice tea billowing out of it. So how much yak tea did you have, Scott?
I had yak tea every morning. I would drink with Lobsang, and I don't know, 4 or 5 cups in the morning. I do remember this was the last morning. I had so much buttered tea this morning it made me a little nauseous. So I think I overdid it. But we had quite a bit. We find that it's not bad. I developed a taste for it. It was very good.
Yeah, you gotta just kind of think of it not as tea, but more as like soup.
I thought of it as an experience.
Yeah. Well put. Nice and clear this day, nice and calm in the morning. Our trusty Land Cruiser.
Here we have to you have to show the passports.
Okay.
The Tibetan Plateau really is quite striking, especially as the sun's coming up. And you guys might remember that sign from 2003. That is the sign that marks the turnoff to Mount Everest Base Camp. So this is where we'll actually pick up next week. And believe it or not, everyone, next week we actually get to see Everest. Actually, I think in next week's episode, I think we realized that it had been 11 days to get to this point, and you know, it really does take a long time. And you know, that's part of the cool thing about this podcast, that I'm able to show everyone all the other stuff that happens, because just getting to Everest is quite a journey. Obviously, I mean, how many weeks have we been doing this? It's been almost. Has it been almost 20 weeks since, yeah, it's been almost 20 weeks since we began the 2007 material. So it really does take a long time to get to base camp. So thanks so much, Scott.
John, thank you.
And tune in next week, everyone, because there are some incredible views next week. So I'll see you then. Bye. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every week. If you enjoy watching and would like to show your support, then take a look at my website. Aside from having lots of additional blog entries from the expedition updated every week, there's this little donation button on every page. Now, many of you have pressed that button, and your generous contributions are helping to cover my hosting fees. If you haven't donated but would like to, then just contribute any amount. In return, I'll give you access to the video and audio dispatches I sent out while we were actually at Everest. It's pretty interesting stuff. Contribute $25 or more, and I'll even throw in an iPod-compatible version of the film Everest: The Other Side. That's the project the entire podcast here is based on. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywu.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.